Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to this webcast. We're trying something a little different today. We look forward to seeing how it goes. We'd appreciate any feedback from you. If it works well, we'll do it more in the future. If not, we'll change things up and try something else. So I hope you've all received an email this morning, included the link to our 2016 primary election voter guide. It's comprehensive from governor through the state senate and state house races. This document is a work in progress. We've already caught a few errors with it, some of which have been fixed, others are on their way to being fixed. And I know that I've missed some information on candidates, whether it be a local newspaper article where somebody was quoted or other sources. So please help us in the coming weeks. If you see any omissions or you see anything you think is an error or if you information we should be adding, please let us know. And we'll update the voter guide continually. And then after the primary, we'll update it to include all of the general election candidates, which will include some independent and third-party candidates. So one of the reasons I think this is really important, this is the legislative off-season. Nothing much is happening in Montpelier, but the legislators and the candidates are, over the summer and fall, actually sometimes much more accessible to Vermonters than they are during the session. So some people complain during session. I've called or I've emailed my reps and they haven't gotten back to me. When they're running for office, sometimes they're more inclined to get back to you and talk to you, sometimes in much more detail. So this can be a really productive time of the year for advocates for marijuana policy reform. So let me try something here. I'm going to share my screen with you. And this is the voter guide. Hope you've already had a chance to look at it. But if not, it's here. We asked candidates 3 questions. And we know that the members of our coalition feel strongly about this issue for a variety of different reasons. Some people are very passionate about home cultivation, others are very passionate about having a regulated market system, and we advocate for all of the above. So what we've done is we broke it up into 3 questions. If elected, will you support eliminating penalties for possession? Will you support creating a reasonable system for regulating and taxing marijuana production and sales? And the 3rd question, will you support allowing adults 21 or older to grow a limited amount of marijuana for their own use? So we received quite a lot of responses to this, and I was pleased that starting with the governor's race, as you know, if you followed things this year in the legislature, one of the real assets we had working for us was the fact that Governor Peter Shumlin was a strong advocate for ending marijuana prohibition. And he's leaving office this year. He will be replaced by somebody new. And from the looks of this, at least all of the Democratic candidates support ending marijuana prohibition. They may support it based on what we've heard. It seems like Matt Dunn and Peter Galbraith are both pretty gung-ho and would be interested in signing such a bill next year and helping get it passed. Sue Minter may have been a little bit less gung-ho in some of her comments, but she's made it clear that she does support legalization. And the other 2 announced candidates on the D primary side have also both said they support legalization, that being Chris Erickson and Brooke Page. So 5 out of 5, not bad on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, nobody's sounding like Richard Nixon particularly here, but Lieutenant Governor Phil Scott and Bruce Listman both say they don't think the time is right. They would want to wait perhaps years before moving forward with legalization. So it's not to say it wouldn't be possible to pass a bill with one of those 2 gentlemen in office, but it would be certainly much more difficult. And but they are at least open to the issue, it sounds like. Moving on to the race for lieutenant governor, 3 interesting candidates here on the Democratic side. Senator David Zuckerman has been a longtime leading advocate in Vermont for marijuana policy reform. very outspoken on the issue, dating back to his time as a state representative when he sponsored the first bill that created the medical marijuana program back in 2013. So we know where Senator Zuckerman stands. He's been a champion for a long time. Keisha Ram has she's made some statements that she supports it, and she's made some other statements that are a little less clear. And if you're curious about her stance, click the link in this and read the Heady Vermont interview that she did. And a lot of people read the Rand Corporation's report and thought, no, this is, we really need to do this. There's $175 million being spent on marijuana in Vermont, and that doesn't make any sense for it to be an illicit market. She actually said that the Rand report gave her pause and made her think that we should wait and study the issue more. So less enthusiasm from her, certainly, than from Senator Zuckerman. And then House Speaker Shep Smith is somebody who became convinced in 2015 that prohibition had failed and that we should end prohibition and regulate instead. He did respond yes to all three of our survey questions, so he is committed to supporting limited home cultivation as well as marijuana regulation. And with regard to this race, let's keep in mind that last session, the Lieutenant Governor was Phil Scott, and he was an opponent, and that did not stop the Senate from passing a legalization bill. The Lieutenant Governor presides over the Senate, and it is an important office. It is an office where somebody can easily be quoted and be a champion in the public news. So, but at the same time, it's not likely that any of these candidates would stop us from winning in 2017. If a Republican were to win Lieutenant Governor, which would be former State Senator Randy Brock, he's a strong opponent, and he's somebody who if his campaign for governor a few years ago is any indication, would be very much an outspoken opponent of reform. So I'm scroll down and just show you, with the blue and the red, these are not endorsements necessarily. They're to help illustrate the contrasts between candidates. So I want to show you, for example, the Chittenden 1 House Democratic primary, which is Richmond. The incumbent legislator is not running for re-election, so this is a wide open three-way primary with who happened to have been featured in a public candidate forum that wound up on the internet, and the links and quotes here are largely from that. But it looks like two of these candidates are not likely to vote for legalization in 2017, and the other candidate, Steve May, has been an outspoken supporter of this and is a formal member of the Vermont Coalition to Regulate Marijuana. So that's one example of a primary race that there's clear contrast between some of the candidates. And there are others, and I'll leave you to read them for yourself. Okay, ending the screen share. I did get a few questions this morning about the details of the bill, and right now the bill is very easy to talk about because it consists of 0 words. There is no bill. The legislature is not in session and will not be in session again until January. This is an opportunity to talk concepts with candidates and legislators and get them committed to good policy and concept. For those who are interested in the details, the Joint Legislative Committee on Justice Oversight is a committee that normally meets 5 times during the off season. They're meeting an extra 5 times this year. And I understand those meetings will be in the fall. They'll have 5 meetings dedicated to this issue. So they're going to be looking at the specifics of the bill before a new bill is introduced. And that's a very potentially positive situation in that committee. It includes key members of both the House and Senate. Senator Richard Sears is the chair of the House Judiciary Committee. Representative Maxine Grad is the chair of the House Judiciary Committee. I may have misspoke on Sears. He's the Senate Judiciary Committee. They're both on the committee, as are other key legislators. And if they're able to reach some agreement this fall on policy, that puts us in a much better position heading into January of 2017 as we try to pass a bill through both the House and Senate and have it signed by the governor. So what can you do to help? Thank you for asking. You should be seeing my full screen again, and here are 5 things you can do this summer to help end marijuana prohibition in Vermont in 2017. First, obviously, read the voter guide, share it widely with every Vermonter you know who agrees with us. Marijuana prohibition should be ended. Look at the candidates in your district, reach out to them. If they voted yes, or if they responded yes, say thank you. And if they didn't, ask them why not. This is a great time to try to get them engaged in a polite, productive conversation. If you do meet candidates that you feel are worthy of your support, I assume you care about more than just one issue, but this, I'm sure, is one of your top issues if you're watching this webcast. Candidates running in Vermont are running very low budget campaigns. For the most part, they're grateful for any volunteer help they can get. They're grateful for any small contributions they receive. And it's important for them to receive positive feedback from people inside their districts. So we heard from a number of legislators that they were kind of 50-50 on the issue, or maybe they leaned our way, or maybe they leaned the other way, but they said they got more calls and emails against than they got in favor. And that's, you know, we need to change that dynamic this summer and fall, and certainly heading into the next legislative session. They need to be hearing phone calls and emails, you know, steadily from the supporters, and we need to be outnumbering the prohibitionists at this point. So another way to do that is letters to local newspapers. Our opponents, it's one thing they did very well in the last year, is get a lot of letters and commentaries published that were critical of legalization, and we need to have more proactive, good arguments coming from members of our coalition. The 5th thing that you can do is help us build our coalition. Urge your friends to join us online so they're getting the emails from Vermont Coalition to Regulate Marijuana. You can also like us on Facebook. We're over 3,100 likes now. Let's try to get that up to 5,000 or 6,000 at least before January. And you can also follow us on Twitter to stay informed on our progress. Finally, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to check and see if I have any questions. I don't see any questions that have been submitted through the Q&A app. And I'm going to check my email real quick, and I don't see one there either. So I hope that you all benefited from this webcast, and thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have questions, please feel free to email them to me. This is an exciting time for Vermont moving into the 2016 election season. Thanks so much. Have a great day.